I'm pretty sure the C5 Corvette fuel gauge sending unit came from the same factory as the Chinese drywall. If you're curious as to why it doesn't work and just craps itself and some solutions, stick around. All right, welcome back guys to a nice sunny Monday here in Virginia. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I had an awesome weekend. I didn't make any videos. I don't even care. It was amazing. The weather was perfect, so deal with it. All right, so chances are you're watching this video because your fuel gauge in your C5 probably dumped at one point and went to zero. Chances are you're cruising along, near half a tank, needle goes to zero, you get a little light on the dash that says check gauges, you look down, you got no fuel, your face is kind of like, you're kind of panicky. I get that feeling. But you know you have fuel because it's just half full. Here's why it's doing it, what you can do to prevent it, and some fixes for it. Now here's a statement from GM like 16 years ago on the C5. This has been a problem since about 2000 with these cars. So it's not new, and I get this question asked quite a bit on my YouTube, which I don't mind you asking questions. This is one I get a lot, so I thought I'd just address it. In forums, Facebook groups, this question comes up quite a bit. So hopefully this video will be a good resource for whoever's looking for an answer to this. So here's a statement from GM roughly 15 years ago. Customer complaints. Owners state that the gauge will intermittently go in and out, go to full, go to empty, won't read, will read sometimes, turn the car off, it fixes itself. The cause, this is from GM itself. Sulfur in not so up to par fuels pretty much is a higher content. The fuel is just simply not refined as well. I'm not a fuel expert, I'm just simply going off what my logic tells me and what GM put out. Long story short, sulfur builds up on the little sending unit inside the fuel tank. I'll show a little picture right here. Over time, it kind of just creates a little buildup and you get erroneous readings up into your fuel gauge. Sometimes turning the car off and back on will reset the continuity between the switch and the gauge. Sometimes it doesn't. A lot of times if you refuel the car, it'll work again because the float moves a little bit. It gets a little bit of movement on the sending unit. That'll fix it temporarily. And GM's last fix for this, which I have not tried and have not heard of anyone else ever trying this, is simply updating your PCM with the newest service packet. And this was 2003 this came out. And you want version 7 or higher. I really have no idea what version I have. I might do a video on that later on to check that. From what I read, that's not really a concrete fix, but I'll go into what you can do to fix it. Now, what you would think, now typically I would say replace the unit. If something's wrong mechanical, replace it. I'm not a fan of mechanics in a bottle, typically. They really work. It's most of the time it's snake oil. However, for this issue, this sulfur buildup, it's kind of the nature of how it was designed. Not too well. It's prone to just getting buildup on the sending unit. If you replace it with a new one, and if you still use the low tier gas within a year, you're gonna have the same issue. So what I recommend is simply running a high detergent cleaner such as Techron. I think there's a Seafoam equivalent as well. You wanna run that through your tank as the bottle suggests a couple times. And then after the last one, put a bottle in your car, let it sit for a week or two to really dissolve any sulfur on it. That's what I did on my car. I had it happen to me one time, the fuel issue, about 10 months ago. The same thing I was going through, I'm reporting back to you, that yeah, running Techron through it pretty much has really good detergents that'll deteriorate all the sulfur and you'll get correct readings once again. So yeah, I did that. I ran a couple bottles, let a bottle sit in there for about a week, no problem since. Now, in tandem with using Techron, you want to use top tier fuel. Now here's about 5 that I would personally only use in my C5, Shell with V-Power, Exxon, Mobil, Texaco, Chevron, and lastly, Costco. Yes, Costco is a very top tier gas. Their detergents are very good. So don't be afraid of using Costco gas. On the flip side, Sam's Club gas is subpar. I don't recommend it. You want to stay away from Wawa gas. If you're near naval base, any exchange gas is kind of low tier, unfortunately. Pretty much any gas you don't think synonymous with performance, if you will, NASCAR, you want to kind of stay away from. It's kind of a weird barometer, but that's kind of how I think of it. And lastly, if you do want to, if you listen to me like this guy's full shit, that's fine, it's cool. If you want to replace your sending unit, it's not a terrible job depending on what type fuel system you had. The engineers for the C5 changed it 3 different times. 97 and 2000 you have one kind of setup, 2001 and 2002, and early 03 had a different setup, and then 03, 04 had a different fuel setup, so be cognizant of that. The 01, 02 is probably the best case scenario. You have an exposed inline fuel filter. The fuel sending unit is the easiest to reach, and the fuel pump as well. The 03, 04 I think is kind of a nightmare. And the 97 and 2000 is kind of a pain in the ass. I believe you have to drop both tanks to get to it, but it's possible. So yeah, be cognizant of that if you just want to replace the unit. So to recap real quick, if you're having a fuel sending issue, gauge issue that is, run some Techron and start using top tier gas. 95% sure that'll fix your issue. Hopefully this helps someone out there. That's the whole idea. And again, feel free to ask me Corvette questions. I don't mind. If I get enough of one type of question, I will address it via a YouTube video such as this one. So, all right guys, I'm gonna go edit this, get it out to you, and yeah. I feel you guys are liking the Corvette news. I'm getting more dialed in on my approach. Actually, I have a lot of fun doing that segment. So I have no problem doing it every week. It's pretty fun. And even broadening my my Corvette lens, if you will. All right, gang. You guys go enjoy your Monday. Mark out.